we're all kind of hoping that Kevin would be here this morning, but with everything that's going on with Hunter last week, um, being hospitalized, they are still in the Poconos. And Kevin asked for somebody to cover preaching for him this morning, so you're stuck with me. Uh, our prayers definitely go out to Hunter and Kevin and Deborah as they're out there with him, trying to get him medically back. But he is Hunter did get released from the ICU and is back in, I guess, a regular room at the hospital. So he is continuing to improve. And I know they had discussed putting getting him a feeding tube to make sure that his GI tract was uh, staying healthy as he continues to have trouble swallowing. So, um, but he is getting use of his left hand and left leg back pretty well, and uh, they said that he snaps to get their attention anytime he needs something from them. So he's alert, which is very good, very big improvement. So this morning I wanted to talk about something that came up timely recently, and my wife mentioned to me as we ran into some old friends, she said, some of us have lost touch with them. We just don't see them as often anymore. And that really kind of hit me in a way that I think about our relationship with Christ and how easy it is to drift away. So we're going to have a little nautical theme this morning for those that have a boat. Uh, so that we can relate, or those that have been on a boat. But really, what we're going to be looking at here is staying close, right? Friendship, fellowship, faithfulness. There's a closeness that we get when we meet with only 20, 30, 40 people in a small room and we're piled on top of each other and we're all fanning together in the summer and we're all huddled up in the winter, whatever it is, these things, we say, remember when we were over there and remember when this happened? We have this closeness because there's not many of us and we're packed in tight and we see each other on a regular basis, and that's really neat. Think about the closeness that Jesus had with those disciples that became the apostles, those first 12, that inner group. They hung out together, they went together. He didn't say, "Meet with me once a month and I'll tell you some neat things and you can go off and do your own thing." He said, "Follow me." Right? He said, "Come with me. Let's be together. Let's do this together. You have to spend the time." So as we look at this, we're just going to be talking this morning about intentionally staying close to Jesus and his people, right? Um, and the idea of old friends. Uh, my 30-year reunion should be coming up sometime this next year, which sounds crazy because I don't even feel like I'm 30 years. I don't act 30 years old, right? So as we think about a 30-year high school reunion, some of those people I'm still close with. Some of them I remember who they were and how close we were. Some of them I won't even recognize a face. And it's kind of wild to think about that when you didn't go to a huge high school and you kind of knew everybody, you felt like you knew everybody, and you're like, who is that? And oh, we had classes together, right? These kinds of things. But then there's also great friends that I had that even guys that were in my wedding that I don't really talk to that much anymore. I didn't stop liking them. I just don't see them. They live in Pennsylvania. They work in other buildings across the state. They're just not near. We're not in each other's lives on a daily basis. You end up staying close to the people that you stay close to. Really weird that those words line up that way. James chapter 4 verse 8 says, "Draw near to God, and He will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded." But that first part of this, if we're going to pull ourselves close to God, He's going to pull us near to Him. And that's really what we need to be after. Uh, there we go. As I was just talking about, we drift from those things that we don't see. Our friendship, just like those friendships, our faith fades without regular spiritual contact, right? And that spiritual contact, as we look here in Hebrews 2, when it says, "For this reason we must pay closer attention to what we have heard so that we do not drift away from it." There's other verses. that tell us things like in Matthew 26:41, it says, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. I want to, but I'm having trouble. That idea there. And in Revelation in 2:4, it says, you've lost your first love. There's an ability that we have to drift away from the things that we love, to drift away from the things that we don't feel close to anymore, things that we used to be so involved with, organizations that we used to run that we go, I don't even, I don't even care about that anymore, because we're just not in that every day. When we think about these things, uh, what's the reason? It's because we're not actively engaged. We're not keeping close ties. And maybe we only ever had one tie to an organization. Maybe we only had one rope hooked onto the dock, right? The rest of the boat's kind of flopping around. Yeah, you're tied up to the dock. It's not really going away, but it's out there. It's going to be hard to step on. You're not going to be loading and unloading the boat if there's only one rope tied to the dock. Think about that with our spiritual lives. How many ties have you created back to the dock, right? Do you just have your one? Is it just, hey, there's nothing wrong with, I'm just showing up on Sunday. That's all I can do. It's all I want to do, right? There's, I, this is my life right now. This is what I've got. Okay, that's one rope. You're now anchored, right? Now, how do you secure yourself in a better way, right? How do you take another step? These things, uh, you know, that knot gets a little looser without close attention. That boat starts to slip away. Even if it's not a raging river, you're in a nice calm bay. Any little ripple will take a boat and just push it a couple inches away from a dock. It doesn't happen right away all the time. It doesn't happen all the time. But if you notice, if somebody didn't, you throw the rope over, but you didn't tie it, that boat is just going to slowly pull away. Not by any intent, not by anybody, coming out and pushing that boat. And I'm gonna take this thing away from the dock. It doesn't even have to be that. It just drifts if we don't pay attention. I want us to pay attention to the distance that accidentally creeps between us and our Lord, between us and the dock, right? We stay close to Jesus through regular connection, right? Friends, friendship takes time together. Faith takes time with Jesus. Think about some of my former best friends. I still think I know who those guys are. But if I haven't talked to them in a year, if I haven't talked to them in 3 years, 5 years, guys are my roommates in college. I knew everything about them in college. We did everything together. We ate together. We had to clean up. We scrubbed we scrubbed a kitchen together, right? Like guys scrubbing a kitchen together. That's something, that's hard work for me especially. These things, when you understand how somebody's life works intricately and then you step away from it from enough time, you have no idea what's going on there anymore. We can understand everything there is to know about the scriptures, and if we step away far enough, it will feel distant to us. We have Acts 17:28 here. For in him we live and move and exist, even as some of your poets have said, for we also are his children. In him we live and move and exist. This is uh, the sermon on Mars Hill. And in John 15:4-5, it says, abide in me. And later in the verse it says, for without me you can do nothing. And Psalm 16:8 says, I have set the Lord always before me. The more we look at Jesus, the more we become like him. We have to analyze who he is. We have to care about his character, think about his character, because when we think about his character, we set patterns in our own minds. We set an example before us. Sometimes you pick up a manner of speech from somebody you hang around. They just have a phrase, and next thing you know, you're using the phrase. I am a speech chameleon. I've picked up things from Jordan. I know I say things that Jordan says. I've picked up things from Jay. I know I say these things. The amount of times, the number of times that I say the word right, I know I've picked that up from another coach that I coach Georgia's football team with, because I hear him doing it. I go, that's where that comes from, right? We, I did it. We pick up little things from that which we're around all the time. Why not pick up little things from Christ? Why not pick up little things from Christ's people that are also trying to pick up little things from Him? So surround yourself with God's people because you become like your closest companions. Hebrews 10:24, and let us consider how to stimulate one another to love and good deeds, not forsaking our own assembly together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. Think about this. This is a simple, it's not a command. It's a little bit of a chastisement, right? But it's also a piece of advice to say, this is what you should be doing. Let's consider how to stimulate one another to love and good deeds. If we are all doing that for each other, if I'm trying to do that and you're trying to do that and we're together, there's goodness on goodness on goodness. It's multiplied, it's amplified by the presence of other people of God around you. It's an amazing, it's just an amazing thing. The way we talked about light this morning, and sure, a little bit of light, one matchstick can make a little bit of light. If you light a whole box of matches on fire, you really get into something that can become out of control. If we can make God's presence in this area out of control, a wildfire, how great would that be? Proverbs 13:20 says, he who walks with the wise becomes wise. Interesting. You don't have to be the best Christian in the room. You just have to walk with them. You have to walk with God's people. You don't have to be a perfect child of God. God doesn't expect you to be perfect. He's going to try and make you, He'll help you get there. You just have to show up and do the work. Some people have that at school. If they just show up to class and listen, they kind of get it. Some people have to do all the homework in order to get it. Some people have to do it all and get tutoring. But if you don't show up, you don't have a chance. The other thing that's interesting here is the inverse is pointed out in 1 Corinthians 15:33. Bad company corrupts good morals. If bad company corrupts good morals, we have to figure out the ways to identify the bad company and keep it at a distance. Enough of a distance, right? That when you see somebody is actively trying to pull you away from God, actively trying to pull you away from church and from being a better person, once you realize that's what's going on, you find yourself going, okay, I'll just step a little bit further away to make sure that that influence doesn't affect me. But what are you stepping towards? Are you stepping out into isolation? Are you stepping into just, I'm just going to retreat into my own home, close the doors, read the scriptures. It's just me and Jesus. We're there together. Again, you're not anchored, right? You have one point of connection to the dock. When you see the big waves coming and pulling the boat away from the dock, you say, okay, let's tighten down that rope. Let's add another one. Let's make sure that the rope is nice and thick, a good one, not one that's going to snap. It's not old and frayed. Are we renewing our relationships? His light makes our path clear and our burdens light. You know, when you're near him, you get light, peace, guidance, and strength. And far from him, confusion, temptation, heaviness. There's a weight that the world puts on people. We see depression happening, and it's not that depression can't happen when you when you love Jesus and when you're in Him, but the results of depression in the world seem far more seem to happen, I guess, with more vigor, with more heft. There's without an eternal look at where you could be and where you're trying to get to, despair and loss and hopelessness runs rampant. But in Him, we have light, we have a path, we have a way to go. Psalm 119, 105. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Matthew 11:28 through 30 is kind of where it gets in. It says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Psalm 55:22 says, cast your burden on the Lord. And the key thought here is that with Jesus near, the road to heaven feels possible and the weight of the world feels lighter. If you feel far from Jesus, there's something in the back of your head that's going, I don't think I'm ever going to make it to heaven. Why try? If you are running in a long distance race, there's moments when you're out there and you are so far from the start line, the finish line, the aid station, and possibly any other runner where you go, am I even on the right path? Am I still on the course? Okay, there's a little piece of red tape and an arrow. Okay, I'm still on the right course. In those times, I find myself running the slowest, almost giving up and deciding I can walk. There's nobody watching. Maybe this is where I can catch my breath. Jay laughs at me sometimes. He says I think it's a barn horse is the way he says it. Should I also think of myself as a show pony a little bit, right? Which is kind of funny because I have a thing where I know I run faster if people are watching. I don't know why when I'm all alone I give up on trying to go as hard as I can, but I know this: when you get close to the end of a race and there's the lights and the people cheering and there's the goal is there and you can see it and the path is clear, you find the energy to finish. You find that little bit that you didn't think you had. The stuff that even 10 minutes ago you thought, I'm gassed. There's no way I'm going to get across that finish line. But somehow in that last little bit, you go, you know what? I can make it. When we're in Jesus' light, there's that. And when we're surrounded by His people, right? When we have the encouragement of others, there's this, you know what? I can make it. Maybe, I'm not as horrible as I thought I was. That's a really hard thing for some people to think about. When you look back at the things that you've done against Christ and against your fellow man, against yourself in your life, and you go, you know what? I'm not a good person. If you stay right there, that's all you have. But when you look back at that and say, I am now transformed and I'm a different person and I'm headed in a different direction, there is hope and there's a finish line and there are people cheering you on. This group is a great little section of people cheering you on. We talked about this week how great it was to go to the Laguna's housewarming party and be there for that and to cheer them on in something that was incredible for them, um, and life changing for them to be in a house, and the kids talking about getting to paint their pick their paint color for their rooms for the first time in their lives. Things like that are just huge, and to be a part of that and to be part of just the crowd cheering them on was helpful to my soul and to our souls that were there. It was incredible. Stay close to Christ. It's easy to drift from people you don't see, so see Jesus daily. Walk with His people regularly. Let His light fill your life so heaven stays the goal. John 6:68. Simon Peter answered him, Lord, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. Where else can you go to get to heaven? Where else can you go to get true encouragement, where else can you go where there's going to be somebody that's trying to make you better for your sake? Your boss, he'll make you better for his sake, right? I need you to get this done. Let me help you. What is it that you need? How can I help you? Because I need you to work hard and get this work done, right? There are very few people in your life that are hoping for better for you, just for you. But what you find is those people are usually in a room like this because they understand the common goal. Let's all get to heaven. Let's all get to a good place. Let's all live better lives, be better people, because we're all trying to get across the same finish line. The the real thing that we need to look at here is that we need to commit ourselves to some consistency. Some consistency, consistent worship, consistent cracking the scriptures on your own. Set a time, set an alarm on your phone that goes off every week on, Thursday at 7 p.m., whatever, pick your time, or Tuesday at 4 a.m. if you're that kind of person. I'm not. It says, read scripture and just turn and read the Bible. Get something regular going on, but build Christian friendships. When we think about that, how important is it that we have our Christian friendships? I think about, he's not here this morning, he's over at Glen Burnie this morning, but I think about my friendship with Keith. I came into this world with a built-in best friend because our dads were great friends, best friends, and we went on vacations together as little kids, and we were always trying to figure out how do we spend more time with each other, especially even just Sunday afternoons, because with Glen Burnie there was Sunday morning service, Sunday evening service. Can I just go over there for the 4 hours, the 5 hours in between after lunch? How do we do this? We were always getting in trouble because we'd always ask the wrong parent first. But we think about this, and then there were times where there were other kids that were in and other kids that left, kids that came, kids that went. And I remember at high school, even Keith and I we didn't go to the same public schools. We lived in different counties, went to different schools, but we always had each other. And in high school, we were the only two kids in the high school class for a couple years, and we just hammered our teachers. It was bad for them. But we had a friendship that could not be pulled apart. And if I hadn't talked to Keith for the last 30 years, I'd know that I could go and call him. We'd be fine because I know who he was, and I could have projected who he would be now. But how much better is it that I still have my best friend in my life? I've had lots of ties. We've connected. We've created ties. We said, this rope's no good. Let's use a different one. Let's do this together now. Let's do this together. I don't care. It was video games this week. We got online and played video games. I created a tie with one of my best friends who's also a fellow Christian, a follower of Christ. Think about a lifelong relationship that you have with somebody that's also trying to make sure that you're not stepping out of line, that you're going to get to heaven. You get that with your spouse, you hope. You get that with your friends at church. You get that with certain people in your life. But that's what it really is about. Because if we get to heaven, then we made it. We made the finish line. So important to make that finish line. Staying close to Jesus isn't about guilt. You'll have guilt if you drift away, but staying close, if you're close, you're here. It's Sunday morning, you're here. You are somewhat close right now. So staying close, it's not about guilt. It's about life and joy and eternal hope. A hope that is different than anything that we have here on this earth. If you don't tie up your boat and the waves come and storms come, it starts raining hard, you might come out and find that thing sunk. I don't want to be a former Christian who sunk. If you find yourself in that situation, he'll pull you back. He can walk out on the water and grab the rope. and pull you back. He's shown that he has that capability. If you feel like you're drifting from the Lord, if you feel far away from Jesus, if you feel far away from the group that's here, if you feel disconnected from the people in this room that know your name and love you and care about you, if you feel disconnected, now's the time. If you have not entered into a relationship with Jesus, if you've never connected to the dock, today's the day to do that. There's a chance for you to have a hope of something that is far greater than anything you'll see on this earth. A hope of a place where God's going to wipe away your tears. The ultimate comforter, the creator of the world, willing to take you into his home. What an amazing thing, what an amazing opportunity we have here this morning. If you need to take any steps back to Christ, if you need to find a way to tie another rope to the dock, please come and talk to me during or after we sing the invitation song.